Alright, so one question I got asked multiple times is how to handle being single or alone on Valentine's Day. So, well, as you know, Valentine's Day is about love and, well, more specifically about love in a couple. And so, if you're single and not in a relationship on Valentine's Day and you see, all these loving couples and maybe you had actually tried to find a partner but it didn't succeed, well, it can get sad. And seeing all these people that have found love is not the most pleasant thing when you're alone. So in this video I'll briefly explain, well, how to handle this and how to get through Valentine's Day happily alone. Alright, so first up, you believe that, or maybe you don't, in which case I'm gonna try and change your mind later on in the video, that it's beneficial to stay single, but nonetheless it can get quite sad when you realize that once again, well, you're single. And it's totally okay because as biological animals, it's programmed into our DNA and to our instincts to try and reproduce and to try and find a partner. So even though the rational part of your brain knows that it's not the optimal thing to do in this part of your life to try and find a partner, the animalistic part is still trying to do that. So it's perfectly normal to feel down or maybe angry on Valentine's Day and around that time, in February, when everyone is celebrating love and you've got none, at least not in a romantic relationship. Alright, so in this video I'm gonna try and convince you or remind you why it's beneficial to stay single at a young age, and then I'll try and make it easier for you to stay single on Valentine's Day. And I'm gonna end with another way to celebrate Valentine's Day that is not as cringy as celebrating a friendship. So, first of all, why is it important to stay single during the early stages of your life? Well, let's say you're a man, and I'm gonna make this video for men because I can't relate for women, but if you're a woman, I'm sure that there's a way you can apply my logic. So, if you're a man and you want to get a high quality woman, then one of the things you might want to do is to try and get rich or to try and build a lot of muscles. And these are both things that, take time, and it's like an investment, in a lot of cases, it rises exponentially throughout the years. So, for example, at 20-year-old, maybe you've worked hard and you have already made 100 grand. Well, at 25, you could have made $1 million. It's only 5 years more, so 20% more, but you've managed to multiply your wealth by a tenfold. Throughout the years, your value as a man, if you work hard and if you put in the efforts, will get higher and higher. Alright, so let's say at 20-year-old, when you're not as educated, as socially important, and as well regarded as, let's say, when you're gonna be 30 and you're gonna have achieved way more in life. Well, if you put at this time of your life 5 hours a week, which is not a lot, but still 5 hours, it's still considerable to try and find a partner. Well, you might probably succeed, but the quality of woman that is gonna get you is not the same as the one that you're gonna get with putting 5 hours at 30-year-old. Alright, so let's put this into an analogy. So let's say you're trying to mow your lawn. Well, is it gonna be easier if you have just basic scissors, or if you have, those crazy big lawnmower like that almost look like tractors? Well, of course, it's gonna be easier with the second option. So at 30-year-old, you've got more tools, I can say, or more help to get a high quality woman. Doesn't mean that you couldn't have gotten a woman at 20-year-old, but you would have needed to put in way more efforts. So putting in the hours at 20-year-old is just not as worth it as it's gonna be at 30-year-old. So of course, it took the example of having more money, and it's not something that is gonna make you able to get any woman, because, well, hopefully a woman will love you for what you actually are, not only for your wealth. But let's face the truth, it's certainly gonna make it more pleasant and more easy for a woman to love you if you're rich. So just wanted to clarify and make this clear. So now that you understand that investing your time now to get a woman is not gonna be as worth it as it's gonna be later on in your life, well, how do you actually get through Valentine's Day alone? Because as I said, your brain knows that it's the logical thing to do to stay single, but it's still making your heart ache to see all those beautiful couples while you're alone. So you've got to convince yourself that you're actually the one having a better day than them. Because, right, let's put it this way, they are in a sort of way losing their time. And I'm not saying that being in a relationship is a loss of time, but being in the type of relationship that a lot of your friends and a lot of the people around you will probably be in, at least if you're, let's say, in your 20s, is most of the time useless because it's not a relationship that they plan to keep over a long period. So it's something that will soon come to an end, and it's like investing in a company that will eventually go bankrupt. While you, on the opposite, you're working on your goals, and you're getting closer to the life that you want to get to. And chances are you're closer to them to achieving the things that are viewed as impressive in our society. So, easiest example that comes to mind, well, wealth. So, right, in that mindset, here's what I would recommend doing: working as hard as you can, specifically on that day, and working on making money. And so once again, I'm taking money as an example because I think that everyone gonna agree that you don't have to be particularly handsome, you don't have to be particularly muscular. If you're really rich, then you're gonna be able to find a quality woman. Might not really love you, but at the end of the day, you're still gonna be able to have her. So by working on, let's say, investment strategies or your online business, what you're actually doing is securing yourself a high quality woman in the future. While them, by wasting their time, are securing themselves a woman the same quality as they have now. So this is one of the way that you can convince yourself that you're having a better day than them. Also, you can use something as dumb as saying, well, I'm saving money. And it's true, it's not something significant. You're maybe gonna save the cost of a gift and the cost of dinner, but it's not something that would have made a huge difference. But particularly if you are really in a mindset to accumulate as much wealth as possible, it's still a thought that can bring you some sort of joy. To think that really you've not wasted a single dime. You can instead spend that money on yourself, and instead of, let's say, the traditional chocolate and buying chocolate for yourself, which I find kind of even more sad, I would encourage buying a natural physical object that will last. So personally, I'm a big watch enthusiast, and this might not be in everyone's budget, but you could buy yourself a nice watch, or not necessarily that nice, but something that is collectible. And so if we apply this to every object, well, let's say not necessarily something that you're gonna wear or use every day, but something that you can go and see and be reminded of once in a while, and which will remind you why you're single and why it's the best thing. Alright, so you've convinced yourself that you're having a better day than all those couples, but still, seeing all these people together constantly brings up to your mind the fact that you're alone, and this is actually counterproductive. So, one alternative is to be super productive. Be so busy that you don't even have time to be sad, that you don't even have sight to think twice and to say, well, oh, maybe next year I should try and have someone. No, work as much as possible during the day so that the emotions don't have time to get through. You'll probably still be sad, let's say, the next day, because emotions have to go out at some point. But the only difference is you will have done a crazy amount of work that otherwise would have not necessarily be done. And emotions can be a really good motivation. Let's say you're heartbroken, and you've said that your girlfriend left you. Well, use this as a motivation. You can tell yourself that, well, if you had been really rich, she would have stayed with you. So use this as motivation to work harder. So even negative event, or in our case, it's a positive event because it's a good thing to stay single, but let's say something that can bring you sadness, can be used in a good way. So always try and make use of unpleasant things. So let's say your car broke down, well, get back to cycling. And one thing that I apply often is to try and have ideas. So let's say for whatever reason I ripped my shirt. Well, then I'm gonna try to find an idea off of that. So I'm gonna think, well, shirt, ripping it, what caused it, and then, get into a chain of thought that eventually can give me an idea. So it might seem dumb, but doesn't matter if you get an idea or not, or if you use my technique or not. It's the point of making use of an unpleasant thing and trying to find the good in each and every situation. So to still make Valentine's Day special, to keep your mind off of sadness, you can work a lot, as I've told you. And secondly, I would encourage you to do something for the most important woman of your life. Because let's say your friend and the people who we previously mentioned in this video, which are, just people that you see in general, but let's say for the sake of this video, your friends. So while your friend are spending their precious time and hard-earned money on some woman that they will forget about in 5 years, well, you should go and see your mother, which is the person who you wouldn't be here without. So your mom, unless you have children, in which case it's the mother of your children, is the most important woman of your life. So one good idea would be to do something for her on Valentine's Day, especially if she's alone. Alright, so let's say you got rejected recently by a woman, or even worse, specifically on Valentine's Day, then you can reflect on that and think about how much you've achieved ever since and how much less you would have achieved had you been with that woman since that time. And also, another tip I would give you is to avoid all the hype against Valentine's Day, because it's not the smartest thing to do to, let's say, go on social media and expose yourself to all, as previously mentioned, these happy couples. There are some situations which you can control. So let's say in public, if you absolutely have to go somewhere, and I would actually encourage not to completely seclude yourself on Valentine's Day. It shouldn't be a day where you stay home or try to not go outside as much as possible. No, it's not about that. But you should avoid, unnecessary exposure and easily avoidable exposure to, as I said, a happy couple and, or, just things that remind you that you're alone. So not being with someone on Valentine's Day will feel like missing a part of the joy, because in an ideal world, you would have a partner on Valentine's Day, and you would have someone that you can see, let's say, only 5 hours a week, because being with a partner 5 hours a week is actually probably not counterproductive, but it's just not achievable. It's not realistic. You can't keep a girl if you only see her 5 hours a week. So in the ideal scenario, yes, you wouldn't be alone on Valentine's Day, but in reality and in a practical scenario, you are on Valentine's Day. So you've got to convince yourself that you're not missing out on the joy. First of all, by reminding yourself that, well, you're saving this joy actually for later. Then second, by being satisfied at the end of the day, by having worked a lot. And another way, by creating joy in someone's life. So I would suggest your mother. And lastly, by reflecting on your past life and on why you're better off single. And being grateful for this. And just being grateful in general is still good. You could be on prison for Valentine's Day. Alright, so that concludes the video. I hope you learned something, and I hope that you'll have an amazing and happy and productive Valentine's Day. As always, I'll be looking forward to making more videos to help you become the best possible version of yourself, and I'll see you next time.